Hello. Hello everybody that's just logging in. Likewise, you saying that you're early, you're actually here as soon as the stream started. Oh yeah, hello, I thought I'd do a video on. Oh, okay, let's do a video on. So, I was sort of discussing doing this the other day in the stream. I'm not going to wear the mask all through this because it's going to crush my nose, because these masks don't really fit noses like mine. But what we're going to actually do is do a stream where we talk about this recent Novichok thing, and you can all put your conspiracy theories in the chat, because I want to have a talk about this, because I've been upsetting a lot of people talking about this and saying, you know, some of the story the UK government telling us doesn't add up. So I think it'll be quite interesting. What sort of new gas mask do you want? Happy birthday, whoever had the birthday, Rocky Man. I mean, what I could do, if you want me to, is just for the sake of this video, I'm going to take the mask off anyway, but what I could do is, yeah, there goes the voice there from. Is that a bit easier to hear now? I mean, obviously the mask's completely defeated its purpose. I'll take the filter off if I'm doing this, but I'll just see where the actual voice diaphragm drops out to. Let me pick that up. There's the actual diaphragm. Might as well put the cover back on. So, this way, even turning this right now, I can't remember which way it turns if you're actually doing it. Nah, there's no, don't need it on, because I said I'll take the mask off fairly soon anyway. Cool, so yeah, as I was saying to people, let's do a conspiracy stream on Novichok. So, what I want to actually do obviously is let's have a look at some of the conspiracy theories on it. Can other people hear me, or is it just some people saying they can't hear? Because whenever I do these, everybody always complains about the volume. Some people say they're too loud, some people say they're too quiet. There's not even a voice diaphragm in it anymore, so it's not like that's doing the thing. So, in the comments now, just quickly on the live stream, can you tell me if you can hear me alright? Because I need to actually hear if you can hear it. You can hear me fine, Defiant Shepperton. That's cool if you got a nice compass. Happy birthday for them. Okay, so as usual, it's a couple of people complaining about volume, but everybody else is fine. But yeah, we're taking the mask off in a moment. This mask is not comfortable at all. It digs into my Adam's apple in my throat, and the mask here crushes my nose, because there's not really a proper nose bit in this mask. I suppose this is the best you can get it. But this mask, yeah, I'll take it off, because it's not the most comfortable masks. But yeah, it won't be as buzzy now. I'll just put the voice diaphragm back together. But these masks, as much as they're a cool Metro Cop mask, they're not the most comfortable masks. As I said, the SHMS is a much better Soviet mask than the PMG version 1. Yeah, you're not meant to wear those sort of masks or glasses. I don't give random people shout-outs in videos like this unless they actually make content I watch. So don't beg for shout-outs, or you'll get a block if you keep doing it over again. I'll give shout-outs to people who actually I've seen their videos and know they make good stuff. So yeah, I was going to look up more on. And there we go. Just as I said, don't do shout-outs. There's a Howard comment because somebody's begged for a shout-out. So there we go. So yeah, I was going to say let's talk about the sort of Novichok thing. I was going to see if there's any more updates on this, but oh, apparently the EU is now demanding Russia hand over all information on Novichok because, of course, the evil Russians are at it again, probably Russian hackers. Apparently, Brian Johnson now accuses Russia of stockpiling more nerve agent. What's this picture of an FM12 on this news article? Let's have a quick look at this one. Oh, it's just the armed police with, or regular police with FM12s on. Okay, so let's see what you're all saying about this. Yeah, it's because the mic's the one on the webcam. If I live stream enough, I'll end up buying like one of those £50 decent mics that you can stick on the desk, but I don't have a good mic at the moment because I normally use a camcorder, not. Yeah, if you're ill, you must have been, yeah, the Russians must have got you the bioweapon, exactly. They're, that's the only reason you can be ill, it's the Russians behind everything. Most chemical weapons are tested on animals because you don't ethically test them on people, but then again, if this was something from the time of the Soviet Union, they probably did test it on political prisoners. Yeah, Novichok, brand of ice cream. I mean, Trudeau's a special flavour of awful, so I don't think Theresa May could beat Trudeau if you tried. Yeah, if anybody does anything, it's the Russians, but have a lot of you been looking into this? That's what I want to know, because there are lots of, you know, different conspiracy theories on this. And what's happened with me when I've been doing it is I've had like people doing copy and pasted messages on all my videos saying that I'm a Russian hacker, I'm a Russian shill, Russian agent, whatever. UK government knows best, we need war with Russia now, and it's like always the same copy pasted comment. But yeah, has anyone else been following this rather than just shouting out things like that? Well, I mean, there was a period after the Cold War where everybody wanted to be friends with Russia again, but I think everybody's got quite upset over Syria. When I say everybody, I mean politicians, not the average people, because obviously I think the West really wanted to invade Syria, sort of like they did with Iraq and Afghanistan. And then when Russia put a stop to that, then all of a sudden, you know, Russia now has to become the main enemy. I think that's probably where a lot of this Russian stuff stemmed from. Then of course when the EU interfered with Ukraine, which then basically started Russia then having to move more into Ukraine to have buffer states, I think that's, you know, where it's got to the sort of thing. If you want me to say cheeky breaky, I will do. Cheeky breaky! But yeah, I mean, the UK, as you were saying, wouldn't stand a chance of ever beating Russia in a war, but you know, that doesn't stop Theresa May saber rattling, does it? So have you actually all seen the sort of one of the conspiracy theories with this is there was a predictive programming thing where about a week before this incident happened there was some TV show in the UK. Oh, thank you very much, Henry. But there was a thing on the TV in the UK where apparently they had Russians releasing Novichok, or some Russian spy Novichok thing. You know, something that nobody had talked about for years because it was a theoretical nerve agent. And yeah, then all of a sudden it's blame the Russians. Not as far as I'm aware. I think I've seen pictures of some reservists with PMG2s on, but I don't think I've actually seen anyone they have SHMS masks still. When you say SCHMS, that's not the name of the mask, that was the East German designation they gave it. The Russians just call it SHMS. again we have a neo-Nazi retard in the chat that needs to get blocked. Yeah, I mean, you're going to need an NBC suit and CBRN suit, as I'd say anyway, and a mask, because, you know, just simply for the fact of all the things that can go wrong. I think the most probable things you'll come into contact with are just chemical agents like tear gas and chlorine from wrecked cars. Not wrecked cars, but, you know, like wrecked trucks, wrecked trains. Yeah, and it's also just good for your scalp to shave your hair, because I get horrible dermatitis if I don't keep my hair short so I can moisturise my scalp properly. You know. But yeah, certainly masks like this are much easier to put on and off without hair, because they don't tear your scalp out. Yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot of theories, like you say, Herb, about, you know, it was the daughter that was the target, and then it was a family poisoning or some sort of, you know, like, family feud poisoning, something like that. I've heard that somebody was saying to me in a comment yesterday that one of the latest theories, you know, some news agency or the UK government's come out with, which is really implausible, is that, basically, what they were trying to say is it was a delayed nerve agent, so the Russians could give them a nerve agent like a week in advance, and a week later they'd suddenly become ill. I'm sure everybody knows that's not actually possible, if you know how nerve agents work. You can have other poisons that are slow acting, but you can't get nerve agents that are slow acting. Yeah, exactly. Everybody's been fine with Russia since the end of the Cold War, but then, of course, the Western media, I guess, needs a boogeyman, and the Russians have to fit the job. I'm just using my desktop computer, Henry. That is, I mean, the webcam is probably the more important bit, but it's RX 480 GPU and FX 9590 CPU, so it's not exactly cutting edge stuff, but it's good enough for playing most of the games that are out. You know, I don't play anything at 4K, I just play at 1080p, so I've not had any use to update it. When you say the Russians secretly selected people for sleeper agents, do you mean like Manchurian candidate brainwashed people, or do you mean like actual normal sleeper agents? Yeah, like you're saying, Fallout Player, about the trains, they've had problems in the States, I think, before, where there's been trains carrying chlorine or other chemicals that have derailed, and then that's put a cloud of chlorine somewhere, so obviously if that happens close enough to somebody's house, that's bad news, bad, you know, town or whatever. Yeah, so if you're, that's a good point you're making there. If it is one there, like they were saying, one of the things in Novichok, wasn't it, that it was supposedly two chemicals that you mix to then cause a reaction, but I'd still think it'd be hard to give somebody something weeks in advance and then expect it to still be in the system, that when you give them the second chemical it will work. Obviously it didn't work properly. I mean, I think it's more likely they were poisoned somehow in the UK. I mean, the interesting thing is that some of the news sites have scrubbed this, I've seen, is that quite a few people in Salisbury in the previous few weeks had been poisoned by fentanyl. If you don't know what fentanyl is, it's a synthetic opioid. It's a lot stronger than heroin, but it causes a lot of deaths because you can overdose on it really easily. So it's quite common for people to overdose on fentanyl, and overdose even if they're not druggies and not taking it actually normally. But, you know, if fentanyl gets left somewhere, apparently it's quite common for cops to OD on it when they arrest somebody who's got fentanyl on them, if the powder gets in the air. So that's one of the theories that was in some of the things that now has been scrubbed from the news. The previous fentanyl incidents in Salisbury have been removed from a lot of websites. The thing is, though, I wouldn't expect Mossad, because Israel has already come out and said we shouldn't condemn Russia for this until we know if they're actually responsible for it.
whereas every other, you know, country's kind of jumping on the blame Russia bandwagon. Israel hasn't, so that wouldn't really fit. Alright, let's see if I can catch up with the comments, because I was looking a bit further up, and now, yeah, I've heard several things already, like Boris Johnson saying that the Russians are stockpiling lots of Novichok to attack us with, and all, you know, blatant fear-mongering like that. A sleeper agent is basically where you have agents in another country, and they don't do anything until they're given instructions to do it. So it's not like they're actively sending back information or doing anything. They're basically waiting orders to carry out a mission in the country for the most part. So a sleeper agent is basically an agent you've got in place, but they just work a normal job and everything until they get their orders to do a sort of mission. All GP5 filters have asbestos in, at least the Soviet ones. Nova 6 Norvgas is the one from Black Ops, isn't it? I'm not going to do videos on fictional things. Right, where was I in the comments? Yeah, as for the complaints about the audio, it's simply because I'm using my webcam. The microphone's in the webcam, so it's not the best audio in the world. There's not really any fix to that until... I mean, after I get paid, I might, because I like doing live streams, I might buy a much better mic, because I've been meaning for a while to get one of those good desktop mics. You know, like one of the big, proper... I can't remember the technical name for them, but you know the ones I mean. I think, like... Isn't it Blue, the company that does good ones, for about £50? You can't, if the rubber's discoloured, it's discoloured because it's old Soviet rubber. Cool, that show the Americans sounds interesting, but I'll, yeah, I'll wait all gas mask tests, but I'll have to be doing it, obviously, when I've got new masks to test, because I don't really see the point of doing the same masks over and over. Right, where was I? When you say military use gas masks, do you mean the cheapest surplus mask available that militaries have used? Or like ones that are currently fit for military service? I doubt there's a high chance of war with Russia, to be honest, just simply because, you know, I think in reality, nobody's going to be dumb enough to start a war. That doesn't mean that they won't start another proxy war somewhere, like they did constantly in the Cold War. I've shown the SLR in other videos. I'm not going to get it down right now, because the whole point of calling it the Novichok stream is I want to kind of talk about the whole Russian sort of hysteria type thing, rather than doing a general Q&A type stream. Supposedly the SF10 is better than the S10, but SF10s are rarer, so for spare parts I guess S10s are better. Yeah, mutually assured destruction, exactly. Nobody in their right mind would want a war with Russia. If everybody hasn't seen Fred's or The Day After, I'd recommend those films, especially Fred's, because it's, you know, as bleak as it would be with a real war with Russia, you know, nuclear exchange. Everybody who doesn't initially die dies slowly from radiation poisoning or starvation or shot by the government or looters. Any mask that works like a normal mask will protect you against Novichok. You need the full NBC gear, assuming Novichok's real. Now, the M65 jacket's definitely my favourite. I know I'm getting a bit off topic now again. I have two M65s. I have one in US woodland camo and another one that's like desert yellow, kind of a tan colour. I keep one in the boot of my car at all times, for when I'm out if I need a cold coat, and I keep one in the house at all times. The things I like about the M65 jackets is you've got quite deep pockets in there, and it's got the removable liner. China's sort of doing its own thing. I mean, China will definitely want to keep selling goods to the West, so they want to be, you know, in good relations with everybody as much as they can. Obviously, the thing with China is that during the Cold War they were very pally of Russia. Then there was the Sino-Soviet split, where they became quite sort of bitter enemies for a while. And now they're sort of quite pally again, but not like what it was with Stalin and Mao. So, might do a Q&A at the weekend, to be honest. I had a look for Forbid TV when you mentioned him the other day, Fallout player, but I couldn't actually find his videos when he looked. Yeah, this is the problem, like you're saying, Big Bosley, is that it's hard to find some of this information out now because everybody's editing the information to make it, you know, seem consistent with what they're currently saying. I did find some old documents that somebody had posted online about Novichok. Annoyingly, I don't think there's an easy way I can get them up on the screen for people to see, but let me just read a bit of them out. This is from some old textbook, apparently. So it's described as a 4th generation nerve agent. It says the first Russian binary agent, Novichok 5, was derived from V-gas. What's interesting in this? Goes through the different numbers of Novichoks. Apparently the Russians called Novichok foliant to try and get around chemical weapons bans, to say it was a defoliant or, you know, some sort of plant food type thing rather than actually being a but there's some bits people have highlighted in this because it's goes against some of the mainstream media stuff. One of the things says these chemicals are at least as toxic and persistent as the most lethal nerve agent VX, and some are reported to be 10 times as toxic. And again, the people poisoned with Novichok at the moment aren't dead, so, you know, there's always that. Also, the Novichok agents are thought to be far more difficult to detect during manufacturing and far easier to manufacture covertly, because they can be made with common chemicals in relatively simple pesticide factories. Again, they were saying only Russia can make this stuff, apparently not. In the words of Vil Mizrinyov regarding the agent, the weapons originally lies in the simplicity of its components, which are used in civilian industry and which cannot therefore be regulated by international experts. The disabling effects of Novichok agents, as described by Russian scientists, may include permanent neuropathy, which I would guess means brain damage. And finally, unlike VX, which can be defeated quickly with injectable antidotes, the Novichok agents are at least as resistant to treatment as SOMAD. So what it's saying is that these Novichok agents are, you know, like really deadly and really easy to make, but the government said they're only as deadly as it's convenient to be, you know, for our news story, and that only Russia can make them. No idea what I'm going to do for my 30,000 subscriber celebration, probably something. Right, where did I get to in the chat? The interesting thing about that thing about the rope is also, that's a good Yuri Bezmenov quote when he's talking about people who are useful idiots for communism. He said they are selling the rope from which they will hang, which is true if you think about all the people who are pushing for a lot of the crazy SJW stuff who would be shot by actual communists. You can't protect yourself from an ICBM. I did videos, I suppose if it wasn't a nuclear one you might be alright, but I did do a video ages ago about what the reality would be of a nuclear war. It's basically, if you're in a very rural area, you're probably going to be alright when the bombs initially go off, but then you better have a lot of food supplies and armed, or else, you know, that's it. One Big Mac and a large Coke, please. Yeah. I just thought the GSR looks kind of cool. I don't think it's a good mask at all, but I thought when I took a load of pictures of different masks, that would look a good one for a banner. Oh yeah, I'll prove those links you're trying to put in. I know that you can't actually directly put the links in the chat, even if I wanted to approve them, but I'll show the ones that you've tried to put in. I think they've tried a lot of stuff with North Korea. The issues with North Korea is they have this system where if you defect, your entire extended family is killed, which is why very few people do it. I got that from D&B Militaria, which is a site that sells deactivated guns. I have no idea who actually deployed it, if it was even Novichok that was deployed. The point sort of is that, you know, you should be innocent until proven guilty, and our government, as always, is instantly jumping on the blame Russia sort of bandwagon rather than actually looking into it properly. And what they've also done that's really sloppy is, rather than doing a big sort of closed investigation and then releasing all the information when they know what's happened, every day they seem to shout something else out and then have to retract it, or they change their statement because they've obviously not got all the evidence. Well, 12 gauge on shotguns is the same thing as 12 bore, isn't it? It's like the size of the bore. The actual smaller numbers mean a bigger barrel, essentially. Well, width of the shell, circumference of the shell, whatever the proper technical term is. But yeah, like 12 bore is actually bigger than 20 bore, and 410 is smaller again. No, I mean, Russia was absolutely fine when there was all the sanctions over Crimea, at least for the most part, so I don't think this is going to hurt them. I mean, it's actually, I think, just bad because it's damaging UK relations with other countries, and if we're having Brexit and we need to make, you know, stronger relations with countries outside the EU, blaming Russia at the first time something goes wrong, does it? No, I've not got a GP2. The GP2, for those of you who don't know, is the Soviet World War II, or Soviet World War II civilian mask, a bit like the British civilian mask, like a very cheap one. Yeah, I mean, it could very well be an inside job. The thing is, we don't have any evidence either way, but like the whole thing's been done very sloppily, you know, and not very well. I think the government's trigger happy on Russia simply to try and hide away from domestic policy failures. Theresa May's not a popular prime minister, so if you can distract everybody and go, Russia did it, Russia did it, Russia did it, people won't be questioning her leadership so much. USA, but I'd hope it wouldn't come to that. But like I said, I think both sides should be calm and rational. But for the most part, I do think the West is the one that blames Russia for a lot of stuff, you know, without looking into it, rather than the other way around. Cool. Fallout player, let me just see if I can quickly Google that in a new tab, and then hopefully I can then check that later on. Oh yeah, cool, I found the channel now, so what I'll do is I'll just give him a subscribe. Oh wait, no, that is the guy. I won't be subscribing to him, Fallout player. That's the guy who sells the outdated filters, says they're perfectly safe, and then blame me for saying I've damaged his sales. That's that guy. The guy of my old gas mask filters are perfectly safe, don't ask the dates, filters don't expire. Yeah, it's that guy who got angry because I cost him sales of old Israeli filters. Yeah, because I've had a problem with a lot of surplus sort of seller type channels on this thing, because, you know, I said I've had the middle ground area that you can have masks and filters that do eventually expire, and you know, that's it. Because some people seem to think that filters and masks never expire and they work no matter what, and then other people say that masks only work for like the first 5 years of their production date, and my opinion is masks work until the weakest part of them fails. That's why lots of old masks still work. But obviously with filters, over time filters do expire even if they're still sealed. I mean, they last longer than the production, you know, like, expiry date on the filter, but they don't last forever. I mean, I know that just from a fact, because if you get a lot of old filters, sometimes you can unplug an old filter, try and test it, and it doesn't work. But apparently he got angry because I'd been getting people not to buy his filters, because when I told people my advice on filters, they then said to him, why are you trying to sell me outdated filters? Alright, so where was I in the chat? No, I've not really bothered looking into getting a shotgun. I mean, I've got an actual gun safe bolted to the wall in the other room. Keep my air rifles in that, but I don't really want to sort of have the police come around and check and stuff, to be honest. Not that I'm doing anything illegal, but I'm not the biggest fan of police, as some people know. I'm not sort of an ACAB type person or anything like that, but you know, the police in my area aren't very good, to be honest, so I'll just leave it at that and say I don't want any involvement with the you know, police trying to look into me a bit too much. If the FM12 size 1 would fit you and it's in good condition for 72 USD, then yes, otherwise no. I've done a homemade filter. I did that video ages ago where I refilled the Chinese filter, but it didn't work because the Chinese filter is simply too small. If you've got a crumpled GP5, you need to get a mannequin head, put it on the mannequin head, leave it there for like a week or two, and then it should stretch back to its proper shape. Most expensive mask I ever bought was a $100 XM28 E4, but they're very hard to get in the UK. They're actually a bit hard to get in America now, so that was quite a good deal, £100 for that. But yeah, that's probably about as far much as I'd ever spend on a mask. I'm pretty sure I got my PBF off of eBay, like all my masks. I've already said I'm not doing a video on Nova 6 because it's a fictional gas. So if you're saying if there was an actual proper chemical attack on London, I assume it killed nearly everybody in London, I'm assuming there'd be a nuclear retaliation for that, as long as they actually knew who did it. You don't need a license to own a TV. You need a license if the television is like connected so you can view TV on it. So like this here, I'm using a TV as a computer monitor, but because it's not rigged up I wouldn't need a TV license for one, but we have one for the house anyway. If I lived on my own and nobody else, I would not get a TV with a TV license, because I don't want to fund the BBC at all. If you've got a question, just post them in the chat, don't ask to post a question. The Forshida compared to the MP5, is it the F2 or the A4? Both are very good masks. The MP5's alright, but the Forshida, even the A4 version, is one of my favourite masks. After my CT12 and FM12s, I think my Forshida, or Forshida, however it's pronounced, mask is the best in my collection, to be honest. It's like a really, really nice mask. Cheek filters work fine against tear gas and things like that, and dust, just the filters expire too fast if you try and use them against vapours. Yeah, you need space for a museum, wouldn't you? That's anything. I mean, I don't want to get into anything too political, and this isn't that related to this video, but obviously I think the Kurds for the most part are in the right, because Turkey's genocided the Kurds quite a bit throughout their history. So it looks like Turkey's now taking the opportunity to try and seize as much land in Syria as possible. Yeah, Forshida, however it's pronounced, Forshida. I've heard people say it's pronounced different ways. It's Swedish, yeah. I think it's called the Skid Mask 90 or something like that when they actually had it in military service, but it's like their S10 kind of mask if you think of it like that. Yeah, the thing is with the TV license though, is they should actually do it that you have the option not to watch the BBC, but they don't do that, and they never want to change that because they know people wouldn't watch the BBC and pay the TV license if they didn't have to do it anyway. Because like with all the Jimmy Savile stuff and all that, lots of people are like, well, we don't want to support the BBC because they hid paedophiles from justice and all stuff like that. So really, yeah, I'm of the opinion the BBC should be its own subscription service, and hopefully people wouldn't subscribe and they'd be in a bit of trouble. Thomas, what you can either do is get a half face mask, I mean I know they don't cover your eyes, but like the 3M half face masks are good, or get a GP5 and a filter. If you watch my concealed carry video on gas masks, that will show you a good way of putting the masks into a small space so you're actually able to carry them easily, especially masks like GP5s you can fold down. As long as you get a new filter for it, the GP5 is still a perfectly good working mask. I think, John, you can actually get AR-15s in the UK if they're modified, so you have to recock it after every shot. Because pretty much any caliber is legal as long as it's not semi-auto, as long as it's bolt action or, you know, has to be manually charged between shots. As far as I'm aware, no, I don't have any other weird ghost stories. I mean, I can try and think of them and do them in a separate video if I can actually remember any, but all the major things I've definitely done in other videos. Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't actually be a bolt action on AR-15, would it? It would basically be where you have to pull the bit back, like the charging handle, whatever you want to call it, on the AR-15 at the back every time. When I get comments that are nice, that's nice. I obviously like putting them on here and speaking to people. That's why I quite like doing these streams, because you can actually look at the chat live. Nah, the bush hasn't ambushed me. If it wasn't illegal for me to take my knife out with me, then maybe I'd trim the bush back. But yeah, bolt action, so a lot of people who bother getting the firearms licenses can shoot Lee Enfields, so the Mosin would be fine. Some countries still do make the hood style masks. Interestingly enough, there's a Russian company that still makes GP5s. They don't call them that, but they still make the mask. So yeah, that's the funny thing, is that some China and Russia still do make those hood sort of helmet masks. Oh, I say good. I'll just do it a bit metaphorically. This is my most stereotypical UK British accent. It's of course not what you'd all expect, but this is very stereotypical, but nobody actually really talks like that. Yeah, they were both black and white SHMS masks, or grey, whatever kind of weird white-grey rubber it is that the Ivans put on all their masks. I don't know if it'll let me post a link. If it will, I'll get the link up. Is it a .ru website? I've got it bookmarked somewhere, but because they do one called the SHM 2012. I found the website. Let me just get it up. Right, so here's the links. So this is the modern GP5 they still make. If it lets me post the link. There you go. And here's the SHM 2012, which looks like a PMG2 or GP5M, but it's got a better voice diaphragm on and triangular lenses. So there's that one. No, I don't think there's ever been a publicly released measurement chart for Avon masks, because they're meant to be... How it's meant to work is they send somebody who measures your face and then orders you the mask. But size 1 is large, size 3 or 4 is small, depending on if it's the FM12 or S10. But yeah, officially that wasn't how the British Army supposedly did it. They just picked a mask and said that will fit you, wear that. Officially they're, you know, they measure your face and they order one for you. But okay, so YouTube screws up the link, but if you search this into Google, Google that, and hopefully it should come up with the actual mask. Let me just try it just to check it works. And then yeah, it should be the top link, Tambov Mash or something, joint stock company. That's the 2012, but you can find the GP5 type 1 on that site as well. pH gas hoods were meant to work against chlorine and phosgene. I think that was all they were designed for. Might have stopped mustard gas, but they were actually designed for just those things. Nope, GP5 wasn't a military mask, but the GP5M, also known as a PMG2, was a military mask. Saying about me being a commie spy, I've actually got a parody video going up at some point this week where I go, oh yes, you got me, I really was a Russian spy all along. Alright, cool, see ya. Alright, glad you like my videos. SHMS any day of the week, because it's got the ears you can hear through, it's got a voice diaphragm on, you can actually see properly out of it. I find the GP5 is a bit more comfortable for some reason, I don't know why, but the SHMS is definitely the better mask. Alright, glad you enjoyed the videos. We were talking about the Russians on this stream and whether or not they really poison people with Novichok. Do we trust the UK government? We keep going off topic a bit, but that's what we were talking about. Just finished my cup of tea. You mean the SHM 2012? Yeah, that does look quite good. But sadly, I've never seen those for sale anywhere. No, IG Farben, I mean, I think elements of the company still exist, but after World War II, because IG Farben was found to be so much of almost like a Nazi company, like higher-ups in the company were all Nazis, or, you know, Nazi party members, things like that, and they'd done so many dodgy things, IG Farben was actually liquidated as a company. I think people from IG Farben went to work for other companies, but they were closed down just simply because they made all of the Zyklon B for the death camps, and they were in the nerve agent program for Nazi Germany. You know, they did a lot of dodgy stuff. Yeah, I think when that bends back into the nose, that's more because the mask's actually been probably stored too flat for long. Mine doesn't do that as far as I'm aware. So, does anyone else have any more interesting theories towards the Russian thing? Because I'd ideally like to keep these sort of chats going to the original subject matter when we don't do a general Q&A one. What were they saying in that thing then, Thomas? Was it them saying like only the Russians could make it? One of the really dumb things I've seen them saying as well is, yeah, exactly, I was saying about fentanyl in the thing earlier, that they were saying that there's no risk to the public, even though there's a risk to the public. If you've been in contact with Novichok, either wash your clothes in the washing machine, they'll be fine, or just chuck them in the bin in 2 bags, and then that'll be fine. You know, it's not like a persistent, super deadly nerve agent. You know, you'd have to deal with that properly. No, just chuck it in the bin and throw it in the washing machine. Yeah, as we were saying earlier, there's lots of sources that you used to be able to find saying it wasn't just the Russians that could make it, because it was made to be very simple to make. The idea was that you could make it in normal pesticide plants, and Britain has apparently made it. Apparently Porton down there, Salisbury, actually had a load of it in stock. So they were able to match it with their Novichok really quickly, which raises all sorts of questions, and apparently the Americans made a lot when the people making Novichok defected. It depends how you've clogged your torch lighter. I mean, what you really want to do is, let me show it you. I think I've done a video on this before, but for these sort of lighters, what you actually want to do is get really decent lighter fluid butane for it. You don't want to use cheap butane for jet lighters. This stuff won't clog it up, but it's much better stuff. Oh yeah, you shouldn't talk about money, politics or religion, but it's quite interesting when we're doing the videos on it here, isn't it? Lots of people have really liked my Novichok videos as well as the certain people it's offended who might work for the government, GCHQ. Yeah, as I was saying, even if it's not a false flag, I think it's very convenient for the Tories that it can distract everybody from the fact nobody likes them. If you saw, out of interest, if you saw a German World War I gas mask in Cardiff in a surplus store, do you remember how much it was? Because if it was a genuine, then it should be several £100s. If it's a replica, then it should be £100 or less, really. Yeah, I've always wanted a proper style helm. I have a rusted out one, but real ones that are in good condition tend to cost loads of money. Yeah, he watches my videos, that's why he sends me free stuff now and again, because I order from him. He sends me quite nice letters as well. I bought another mask from him, one I've actually paid for, not been sent for free, which is a Polish mask from the 50s, I think it was. So when that comes, I'll do a video on that, and then at some point I'll do an updated Polish gas mask collection, considering I have this mask coming, the MP4B and the MP5 mask now. If you have a massive beard, I guess the GP5 wouldn't work, but bits of facial hair aren't really going to stop the GP5 making a seal, because it's a rubber hood rather than being, you know, one that cuts off there. Well, that's always a worry, Phantom Starfish, but... Oh, hi from Greece. Yeah, it's always a worry, but I don't think you can constantly live in fear of stuff like that and then not do anything. Like, as far as our legal system's still good enough that you can get a lawyer and probably absolutely sue the crap out of them if they try something like that. But they are definitely trying to clamp down more on freedom of speech in this country as it just gets worse and worse here. Right, GP5 is the mask, right? SHM62U I think is the technical name for a GP5, but that's the GP5. The FP5 is a totally unrelated filter that was made in Poland. I'll get an FP5 out quickly. That's an FP5. You see it says FP5 on it. So these are totally safe filters made in Poland post-communism. This particular one ran out in 2016, so as you can see they're pretty modern filters. You can get some that are still in date. And these filters will fit on Ghost masks, because they're normalised thread, so you can pretty much put these on any mask you want. So the reason I say FP5 filters are good, because you can put them on a GP5, it'll work, and it's safe. Yep, maybe that lighter video hasn't gone live yet, but there is a lighter video I filmed. It might be one that's going on this Saturday or Sunday, but I have filmed another lighter video. No, the Plague Doctor mask isn't a gas mask. It's kind of like a proto-early gas mask, but they didn't understand how disease worked because they had a thing called the miasmatic theory. And what that was where they thought bad smells caused disease. So it had like rose petals and things in it, not anything that would actually filter gas. So it wouldn't really work as a gas mask, no. Oh yeah, so you did the thing, Callum, where you nearly suffocated yourself like a lot of people do. Yeah, there's a reason you unplug the filters when you put them on a mask. I think I've got like 80 odd masks now. If you don't count duplicates, it's 70 something. But my favourite mask is CT12. I've even got an FAQ video where I might say my favourite mask is the CT12. Oscar, are you sure it's a GM38 and not the later German one? But regardless, that's a good price for one, even if you get one of the later ones. So I think, Shackleton, what you're saying there is you're really a Russian agent because you're making gas. It's also very easy for people to accidentally make, was it chloramine it's called? Like not pure chlorine that people seem to make all the time when they mix ammonia and bleach when trying to clean their sink. And then the fire crews have to come out with respirators on to actually clear their sink for them. Yeah, I'll do more videos on other bits of military equipment, but I have to spread out videos like that because if I do too many in a row, people stop watching my videos, because most people here, like 90% I think it is, that when I've asked questions like this, say they always want the gas mask videos. So I'm not doing gas mask videos, I have to spread them out. I keep meaning to do a crossbow video as well, another one of those, but I haven't got around to doing that yet, but I'll just spread them out a bit more when I do it. Yeah, I don't have any problems with Serbia, mate. I have quite a few people from Serbia that are subscribed, and other former Yugoslav countries like Croatia and whatever. Personally, obviously, I don't get involved in any of the politics where those people, you know, constantly throw insults at each other. So, you know, I get on with them fine. I've got no problem. But, like, obviously, as I said, I'm not from somewhere in the world where I'd have a problem with Serbia or anything like that. Yeah, that's the thing as well, when, you know, chlorine or chloramine, whatever it is that can be made when ammonia mixes with, like, different things like that. That's the reason why it's really stupid when people said, oh, they pissed on the gas hoods and then put them on. It's like, no, because that would make ammonia. No, I don't have any Turkish gas masks. I'd like to get their version, like their copy of the S6 that's white, if you've seen that. They have a rip-off, or it might have been done under license, of the British S6 mask, but it's white, it looks really weird. I wouldn't mind one of them. But no, I don't have any Turkish masks, I've never seen them for sale. Yeah, it's quite fun going out and shooting, but like I said, the weather's just been absolute crap recently, so I've not really done as much of it as I'd want to. Yeah, most World War I masks, I mean, it depends. pH gas hood would literally just require a cloth to be soaked in. Let me look up what the thing actually stands for, because the pH stands for something, I can never remember the name of it. Oh, they also had, there was the P helmet, then there was the PH helmet, then there was the PHG helmet. Okay, so P is for phenate, or perfenate, P-H-E-N-A-T-E, phenate, I guess. PH is phenate hexamine, that was the actual chemical they put on it. Okay, and the PHG helmet was, had rubber on it as well to protect from tear gas, apparently. But yeah, so it's phenate hexamine is the word for pH, that's why I never remember it, but it's an actual chemical, phenate hexamine, which they soaked it in. And yeah, World War I box filter masks, they're just like modern filters, a bit more simplistic, but they used activated carbon type stuff. I think they often used coconut carbon or something like that to absorb or adsorb the gas. But yeah, in theory, if you put a new filter on one of those masks, it would still work. The MC1, the Polish one is I don't have even the masks in my room, so I can't really quickly show you them. If you Google MC1 gas mask, then Google CM3 gas mask, look at the pictures, check which one yours looks more like. Yeah, the Czech one's called the CM3, it is better quality, it has Bakelite, the rubber's a bit nicer, the straps are a bit nicer. I think the Czech one came first, and the Polish one was made as like a really cheap civilian mask based on the Czech one. They're both alright, but the Czech one is nicer, yeah. So, is there any more questions about the Novichok thing? I've got two versions of the sight in an air rifle video. I've got the original of the scope that's really popular. I then did an improved video that shows you how to sight in a scope. That's a much simpler method, and I've done one as well, which is Orion sights. What's a potato gun exactly? I better not Google it unless I get raided. Well, that's a long word I can't pronounce, but obviously it's not ethical to test chemicals on people to see how it works. No, I didn't know they use ketamine instead of morphine. Apparently it means new kid or something, or like new boy. It's meant to mean like new agent, apparently was their name for it. Swiss Army knife, just simply because the main thing about a Swiss Army knife is it's got a bottle opener on it, which is always handy. But screwdrivers, like flathead screwdriver on the bottle opener, and Phillips screwdriver there. Plus the knives. I mean, the more knives are nice, but if I'm EDCing a knife, something like this is a lot more practical. Yeah, I've seen videos where people have made those and apparently they've got in a load of trouble for it, so that's stupid. It's a bit like when people have made the pneumatic potato launchers, but yeah. It's technically a chemical weapon, but they get away with it saying it's a smoke screen thing. But it's one of those really dodgy things where they circumvent a lot of the laws on chemical weapons by claiming it's one thing and not another thing. Haven't smoked in ages. I did on one of my Q&As say the reason is that they're making the healthcare a lot worse in this country if you smoke. So for all accounts and purposes, I don't smoke, alright? Royal family brings in a lot of tourist money. Personally, I wouldn't want any of my taxes to go towards them, but I don't really care about them either way. I'll show you my favourite bayonet I've got, actually. I assume it's in this drawer somewhere. This is my favourite one. This is an AK bayonet. This would be the older type AK bayonet, I think the AKM one, because it's got the rounded bit there. This isn't my favourite type of one, but let's put this back in its thing. My favourite one, if I can find it in my drawer, is this one, which is the Swiss Sturmgewehr 57 bayonet, or SIG 550, depending on, not SIG 550, SIG 510. So old chunky battle rifle bayonet. Very good point on it, obviously not sharp on the edges because it's a bayonet, not meant to be sharp. But that's a really nice bayonet. What I'd really love is one of those Lee Enfield old sword bayonets, the absolutely gigantic, you know, it's like a mini sword that you put on the end of the rifle. Yeah, I've done videos on airsoft guns. You can actually buy Martini Henrys without a rifle license because they're considered obsolete firearms. Sadly I don't have one, but you know, if I got £1,000 together I could buy a Martini Henry, but finding ammo for it would be very difficult. Yeah, handguns are pretty much totally banned. They have to pretty much convert handguns into carbines to be allowed to shoot them here, so they have to have a really long barrel on it. They have to have this like bit at the back, like a brace, so it's not concealable, which is really stupid. The UK has a really bad Olympic pistol shooting team because they're not actually allowed to shoot pistols in the UK. Even the Olympic team, that's how bad the laws are regarding them. No, I haven't actually chopped up melons in videos. I normally do pumpkins around Halloween when they sell them cheap. Yeah, that's the L1A1 SLR, which is the British-built version of a FAL. There's a Lee Enfield as well, but I think that will probably be too high for you to see. Hang on. Can I tuck that up? There you go, there's the Lee Enfield. And you'll see if I turn it that way as well. There's the falchion hanging up there, as well as a flail and the regular sword. Right, let me get this webcam to point back at me. It's the problem when I move the webcam about, it's really hard to actually get it back on the right angle because the clip on this webcam isn't great. Right, is that good enough, maybe? Hopefully? Yeah. If I could move anywhere, definitely America, because First and Second Amendment, freedom of speech, and right to bear arms. Yeah, like you're saying about laws about knives. If I wanted to kill somebody and I had this, the law's not going to stop me taking it out and putting it through somebody, is it? Law might, you know, give me a longer sentence afterwards, but it's not going to physically stop me doing it. doesn't stop criminals. It depends how you defend yourself. I think if you're using weapons for self, again, I'm going to have to put that webcam a bit lower because it's riding high. But yeah, the problem is with the laws is if you defend yourself with violent force or whatever, especially if it's with a weapon, you're in a lot of trouble. Now you can have my Small British Mammals poster. I wonder if you can actually still get them. Well, I don't know why so many people like that poster. But it came out on the Daily Mail apparently. Oh, on eBay people are selling them if you're interested. You can buy them for £10 in mint condition apparently. A lot more than they must have cost at the time, but apparently it came with Daily Mail and I was offered it by somebody at some point. You know, for free, so I said, yeah, why not, put it on my wall. No, I would not like to have taken part in World War I or World War II. No, that's a real one, it's deactivated sadly, but that is real. I've got videos on it if you actually want to look it up and see all the parts, because you can field strip it, but obviously bits are welded in and bits are cut out. It doesn't have the gas tube in it anymore either, so it's a bit lighter than an actual one would have been, but it's a real one, it's not an airsoft one. Favourite tank? I like some of the updated T-72s, I obviously like the Challenger 2 as well. I like a lot of the M60 patterns as well America had in the thing. Depends what time period you mean, because it means also depends if you want to do it on just aesthetics of it being a nice tank or practicality of the tank. I'll look up that mask because I'm not completely sure which Draeger mask that is. Yeah, exactly, you can, there's lots of ways of circumventing laws. I won't obviously go into them in this video because I don't want to be arrested, but... So is this Draeger mask just an M65 with a drinking tube? Or is it the Israeli one that, So this is basically the Draeger version of the M15 by the look of it, is it? Seems quite a good price for it. There's one on the website about the DDR, so it's just a generic German website. I was thinking and it was saying they were East German, but apparently not. This is my current job. There are firearms you can get here that aren't deactivated, but then you need a lot of hoops to jump through to keep shooting them and stuff like that, and as I've said, I'm not going to get into that with, at least for the time being, because I don't really want the police to randomly be able to come into my house and check my guns are locked away properly and stuff like that. Yeah, a bit of bony M I see there, Fallout player. Well, I think one of the most ludicrous laws we have in here is a lot of their hate speech laws that they use to suppress freedom of speech. Basically, if the government doesn't like what you say, they say you're doing it for hate speech or terrorist reasons and then can arrest you and give you quite a long sentence for that. So basically, yeah, we don't have freedom of speech here, that's totally suppressed. The UK air rifle law is that the gun can't be higher than 12 foot-pounds for a rifle or 6 foot-pounds for a pistol without a firearms licence. Seed Gorman Vista Vision, I'd say anywhere between about £50 and £100, maybe a bit more if you've got the case and all the accessories for it. I've tried to get them a couple of times, but I've either been outbid or the couriers have lost it and I had to have refunds unfortunately, but I've always wanted to get a Seed Gorman. Seems weird that they get an industrial version of an M65 and then put a drinking tube, it appears to be, on it. No, if you tell the truth and you get found out, go to prison. The UK has been detaining journalists recently. I don't know if you saw the thing about Lauren Southern got charged under like anti-terrorist laws before they kicked her out of the country. And there was 2 other journalists that got arrested. If you small silver rounded box, do you mean the eyepiece thing? It's like the anti-fog inserts, I think. I personally don't. It doesn't fit the Russians and modus operandi, to be honest with you. I think personally, with this chemical stuff, yeah. Like we were talking about that earlier in the stream, but it just doesn't add up the official story we're being told at the moment. Yeah, if they started taking us as refugees, I go in. What Trump could do is he could say, if you're an American who hates the Constitution, and they could do a swap program, couldn't they? They could send people who don't like freedom of speech or firearms to the UK, and they could take people who like the idea of liberties to America. That would be a good exchange, I reckon. Yep, Seabgorm and Vista Visions, if they're in good conditions, worth a lot. Like I said to people, I don't read the news for the most part, because the news is full of so much false information and bad journalism. I only look up a story that I'm interested in. If I hear about it from other people, I don't, you know, look at the news regularly, just because it makes you depressed. Right, anyway, I'll be heading off soon. My throat is getting very dry from all this talking. So, thanks for watching the stream. For the most part, it was on topic about the Russians, I guess, before we went off topic. Yeah, like I said to people as well, everybody's going, oh, get your facts straight, it wasn't cyanide, it was ricin. But yeah, when they used the ricin umbrella injector to assassinate that Bulgarian defector during the Cold War, it's like, if they can pull off something like that, why would they do a sloppy job of using a nerve agent that leads a trail of breadcrumbs back to them? Yeah, I don't like the idea of a self-driving car. I mean, it sounds convenient if you wanted to get somewhere and with no effort, but, you know, I like being able to drive my car. Alright, hi Daniel. I'm afraid the stream's coming to an end now anyway. My favourite gas masks, my Avon CT12, as I've said over and over again. But, as I was saying, anyway, I'm off for a bit. So, yeah, see you guys, hope you've enjoyed the stream, and we will see if I get detained by the UK intelligence services for questioning the government, because no freedom of speech here anymore. Yeah, you can watch the stream when it goes up though. You can definitely see old streams on here. Favourite video game is Oddworld's Abe's Exodus from 98, 99, something like that. Right, cool, see you everybody.